Yeah, everything was okay. Can I call you right back? I'm recording a video. Okay. Alright, love you. Bye. Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Kia. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has continued to stay subscribed to me. Thank you for all of your support. I am going to try to start recording videos much more frequently about different things. I am a very bad YouTuber, which is why I have not just fully committed to this and bought all the equipment needed. I apologize. I am trying to become much more consistent, and hopefully this is the start of that. Okay, so what this video is pretty much going to be about is any advice at all I could give to young women like myself. I'm 27 years old, so young women within, I guess, between, I don't know, 19 and 30, maybe 35, 19 and 35, who are either engaged or married already or thinking about getting married. This is not at all coming from like a posture of I know all the things, I have all the answers. Not at all. Not at all. I am just strictly giving some advice, being as though a lot of times advice is not readily offered to young women or available, because a lot of the times when you do try to get advice, say from like an older woman that's married, she's pretty much a fortress, and while this is usually due to her trying to protect her own marriage and not tell her business, a lot of times older women are not very useful when it comes to advice to younger women. And I remember when I first got married, I felt like I was always looking for advice. I was always kind of trying to figure out, you know, what I can learn and like what, you know, can anyone give me advice? And a lot of times I was pretty much given something that was cliche, like a cliche saying like, oh, you gotta pray and all this other stuff, which I'm a Christian, so I get that, but there's definitely a lot more to being married than praying. So the reason why I decided to do this video is because I'm in one of many wife support groups, marriage groups on Facebook, and there was this meme posted in the group. It says, I want a husband, and then it says, no, what you really want is someone to post on social media. You don't want to forgive, let go, serve, forsake others, submit, cleave, communicate, fast forward, cover, apologize, be held accountable. You want trips to prove to your ex that someone wanted you enough to give you a ring, and that's supposed to validate you. That is what this meme says. I'm gonna post it, and I actually took this meme and I put it on Instagram, and I basically my caption was basically saying that, yeah, a lot of women, young women, don't know anything about being a wife, don't know anything about being married, because there's no resources really available to us. And like I said, whenever you try to get advice from someone, a lot of times, well, from an older married woman who's, you know, been married much longer than you do, they're a fortress. They're not really interested in being vulnerable and honest with you. So of course we don't know what you're getting into when you want to get married, because how would you know? So I have been married for going on 4 years now. I'm reaching the 4-year mark, and it has been a whirlwind of good and bad and beautiful and ugly and tears and laughter. It's been crazy. There has been plenty of times where I have wanted to quit. There has been plenty of times I'm sure my husband has wanted to quit and leave me, and same for me. I wanted to leave him too. And so a lot of the things I would like to say that I went through as a young wife was absolutely due to the fact that I still to this day, there's not a lot of help for younger women, and especially if you don't know like another young wife as closely, there's not a lot of advice you could get. And a lot of, to be quite honest, even after watching this video, a lot of what you will learn for your relationship, how to survive in your marriage, it is about learning yourself and growing up, especially if you get married young, growing up, growing with your partner, learning yourself, and just learning a dynamic that works for y'all. No one can tell you that. You're not going to read it in a book. You're not going to get it at the therapist's office. You two just have to individually work at your marriage together. But with that being said, I do have a few things that I've learned that I guess could be used as advice to a young lady who is either engaged or already married or thinking about getting married. So my number one thing that I always tell people, which is something that I wish I would have done, is premarital counseling. Now, my husband and I did have some form of premarital counseling. We went to his church, his childhood church, and we were counseled by his pastors as a husband and wife. And while, bless their heart, and I'm so grateful to this day that they were willing to meet with us and see us. I believe we went every Wednesday for a reasonable price that we could afford at the time. I'm very much grateful for that. I'm not trying to discredit them or any of the work that they've been doing with couples, but I do think we would have better benefit, had a greater benefit if we would have originally saw a professional therapist or counselor for our premarital counseling. And the reason why is because depending on who you can go to, a professional licensed counselor or therapist knows the specific questions to ask to chip away and get to the reality of who you guys are, and that will actually give you a much more clear picture of your compatibility. And so maybe you know a pastor or minister that can do that, and if you do, that's great. But I will say that there are a lot of questions and expectations that I don't think either one of us were aware of, even after we went through the premarital counseling and got their blessing to get married. There was still so much more that we could have really worked on with personally and together before we got married. So that's number one. Get marriage counseling, see a licensed therapist or counselor, ask those hard questions, have those conversations then as quickly as you can. Don't waste your money talking about how much y'all love each other, how much you like each other, because all of that is great and wonderful, but the reality is when you are married, it is not how much you like each other, it is not how much you love each other that's going to keep you all together in terms of longevity. You have to talk about your expectations. You have to talk about your childhood traumas. You have to talk about the sort of things that have formed you to be who you are today, and really, really break those things down and overanalyze as much as you can so that you have a clear picture of whether you are supposed to be with this person and whether or not this is a good match for you. So that's number one. Number two, I guess, would be try to spend as much time which you can with that person through many different seasons of their life. And I know that's something people say a lot, but I 100% have to agree with that. As cliche as that is so true, because who we are can change either to a large degree or subtly, depending on what's going on in our lives. And some people, when they're under stress, they are a different type of person. Some people, when everything is going great and, you know, everything's to their liking, their attitude, their temperament is completely different. And then once the shit hits the fan, they are no longer as loving, they're not as attentive, they're not as thoughtful, they might have depression. There's all these sort of aspects about a person that you may not see without spending a lot of time with them, and I mean valuable, real, concentrated time with each other. You want to definitely make sure that you are learning the person as much as you can and seeing if you guys fit together. A part of that is also being observant and considerate of their family. So as much as it may be annoying or uncomfortable, do your best to go to some family gatherings, cookouts, birthday parties, family dinners, whatever, because you need to know if you could be around these people. And not just that, is that you have to also be aware of how close your spouse is to their family. What is the sort of expectation surrounding how many family gatherings you are to, you know, expected to be in attendance to, as well as how strong of an influence is your partner's family over their choices. I come from a family where my family on my mom's side is kind of estranged. We don't really speak, so their influence over me is very, very small. On my dad's side, things have kind of, you know, dissipated. The family has kind of dissipated. Excuse me, after my grandmother passed. We were all pretty close, but we still keep in contact, but not as much as we did when my grandma was still here and when I was younger. But even though I don't talk to my Aunt Carrie every day, I still hear her voice in my head. And so I don't want to do anything that would make her disappointed in me, because I care about what she thinks. But with that being said, I still very much was raised by my mom, which was pretty much my only guardian growing up as a child, and her opinion matters to me the most out of everyone. She, even with that, she still raised me to be very, I guess, independent in terms of, I am my own person, I like what I like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I'm not over here worried about if she doesn't like it, to a degree. Whereas my husband is much more traditional than I am in that sense, whereas for a very long time in our marriage, his parents were so like close and a part of our marriage, because he grew up with his dad's approval and his dad's stamp needing to be on something, and his opinion means something, and if his dad didn't like this, and that was very strange for me, because I'm just like, what do they got to do with us over here? And it was very hard for me at first. Things have gotten much better now, but at first that was really an issue, because they were at my house all the time. I was supposed to be at their house all the time with my husband, and they were just so critical about every little thing. And I used to think, like, why do you think I care about your opinion? Like, why are you, I don't understand. Like, I'm so confused. But this is what I mean by, you need to see how much influence your husband's family, your wife's family has over their thoughts and actions. So that's number 2. Number 3. What can I think of? If your spouse has children. So the reality is, even if you're within the age I said earlier, if you're between that 19 to 30 age, your husband might have kids already. My husband did. My husband had 2 kids already. And if you are one of these women where you're just like, I can't do nobody else's kids, fine, I get it. I totally get it. But the reality is that may not be what you can really have. A lot of guys have kids, and it doesn't make them automatically bad guys to be with. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Don't settle them out. Don't, you know, count them off. When you are dating a guy with kids, you want to do your best to, again, sort of with his other family, you want to make sure that you're really paying attention to whether or not that's a family structure that you can become a part of, because essentially you guys are going to be a blended family. And if you can't blend at all in some small ways, then it might not work. I do not have an ideal relationship with the biological mother of the children that we share, but I still do my best to be respectful when I have to interact with her, when I have to see her, and I leave it at that. And I'm going to do my part. I'm going to be here to support the children, support my husband, and that's it. I'm not going to let anyone stand in my way of that. And you just have to decide if that's something that you want to do. What do you want your position to be in your stepkid's life? You have to decide. And whatever you decide, you have to be consistent. And that's pretty much that. There are some challenges to dating a guy with a kid, obviously, or kids, because, you know, there's childcare when you guys are trying to go on dates, you know, in the very beginning. There's just all these different aspects about his time that may come off or may deter you from wanting to date him. And I totally get that, but you can all work through that if you're very open and honest with your partner. If they are mature enough and understanding enough to look at the situation and realize what's happening, then you guys should be able to work it out. But I get if you don't want to date a guy with kids. Another huge part, so I guess it's number 4, another huge part of being married is forgiveness. 100% forgiveness. You are constantly having to forgive your spouse. They're constantly having to forgive you, and y'all gotta move on. That is probably one of the largest things of being married, is realizing that, especially if you are in a situation where you haven't lived with this person before, or, you know, whatever. If you guys weren't engaged for years and years and years, I don't understand that. But if you haven't had a long period of time to create sort of this normal routine with this person, you guys are going to be blending your own separate routines. And so there may be ways that you like things, and maybe things that you like to do, places you like to have this, want your house to be this way, want the kitchen to be this way, want the bedroom to be this way, want your shoes over there. That may be normal to you, but your spouse may not care about none of that. So you are going to step on each other's toes a lot. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be yelling. There's going to be fighting, because you guys are clashing, because you're trying to merge everything together. You're trying to find a flow that works for both of you, that allows you to both still be who you are as a person and also work with the person that you love. So you have to forgive each other. You have to be understanding, because if not, you're going to be having fights that last for weeks and months. And that has happened to me before in my marriage. And you want to try to move on from arguments and misunderstandings as quickly as you can, because you never want to let things fester. Because once you let things fester, you're going to have to deal with resentment. And those are things that are hard to remove once those emotions start to like really burrow in, is because a lot of times what you have to realize is that that person may be completely oblivious to what you are hold on. That person may be completely oblivious to what you're saying that they are doing that hurts you. And you have to be aware of that, and you have to be willing to be forgiving, and you have to be willing to move on as quickly as you can for your sake. I am good to be like, no, I want him to apologize. I want him to know how I feel. I'm not letting this go. No. It's not over. You can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta learn how to process it as quickly as you can. Learn better ways of communicating so that you can tell your spouse how you feel. try to move on from it. Try to process it. Try to deal with it and move on. Because when you let things fester, it's not working. Finances, finances, finances. You guys can kind of talk about this with the counselor and premarital counseling. But again, this is one of the things that you need to really talk about, because how you may pay bills may be different from how that person pays bills. How you budget is going to be different from how he budget. What you think is worth spending money on, he may feel completely different. So it depends on what your expectations are. How he lives his life may be different from how you have lived your life all your life. He may be more independent. You may be more less experienced in life experiences, or vice versa. So these are things that you guys need to have a conversation about. Who's going to be paying what? Are we going to have separate accounts or separate accounts with joint? What are we going to be doing? I suggest you talk about this as soon as you possibly can. Don't try to wing it. Don't think, oh, we just on the same weight, it's going to be cool. No. Talk about everything. Talk about everything. Get to all of these hard things as soon as you possibly can. Excuse me. Because the sooner you guys talk about these things with the professional, you can start a plan about how you guys are gonna do this thing, how you gonna stay married. If you're one of those people where you want like a huge traditional wedding, if you are African or something and you gonna have a big wedding anyway, okay, fine. I had a wedding. Looking back at it, I don't feel like any of it was worth it. I don't really know where this concept of you spend a lot of money to show people that you're married, I don't know where that came from. But looking back at that wedding, I wish we didn't do any of it. I love my wedding dress. It's right downstairs. I wish I didn't buy that dress. I wish my husband didn't break his back to try to. All of it to me was unnecessary, not required. Go down, go in front of the courthouse, get married, go on a crazy bomb lit ass honeymoon, spend all your money on your honeymoon, spend some money on a honeymoon, some money on your house. Do things like that. Do things with each other that will create memories in the beginning of your marriage that are outstanding, that last you for years. And then for some people that may be the wedding itself. But I'm just saying, I did all that. I had the bridesmaids. It was a headache. I lost one friend during this process. It's just, to me, when I look back at the whole thing of it, it was so unnecessary. It was so not required. I wish we could have took the money we spent on our wedding and did something for ourselves. Okay. So I know I said that was going to be my last thing about the wedding, but I lied. Okay. So my very, very, very last thing, kind of two last points, is when you get married, you're not going to have a lot of alone time, especially if you have kids. So you're not going to have as much time where you can focus on yourself, do schoolwork, whatever it is that you're used to doing. When you get married, you need to make sure that you are making time for yourself, whatever it is that you want to do, even if it's just 2 hours, where you can spend on yourself, do something fun, go get your nails done, whether it's doing your hair, whatever the hell it is. Make sure you have time to do that. Now my actual last point is you guys need to be having consistent date nights as much as you can, as much as it's feasible for you guys. Obviously, because the longer you stay married, the more life kind of gets in the way. You guys are going to find yourselves not being able to do the things that you were doing when you were dating. And so in order to keep the romance, keep the love, keep the cuteness, you guys need to be doing those things that you did. And whether it's just you have to plan it, if it's like once a week, twice a week, only on Saturdays, whatever it has to be, you need to devote special time to your marriage. Excuse me, because it's that stuff that's going to keep the butterflies and all that. Because as life happens, y'all gonna be looking at each other like, I'm good. That's going to happen. There's going to be times where you're going to just be like, I'm so sick of this. I'm Woo, I'm so sick of him. I don't know why I married him. Oh my God, he's this, he's that, he's this. Woo! And you're just gonna be like, okay, I can't do this. And in those moments, you want to have accumulated some nice, fun, warm, cuddly, soft, romantic moments that will help you remember your spouse in a loving way, and that will allow you to, like I was talking about earlier, move on. And that's my advice. I don't have all the answers. I'm still working on a lot myself. But these are the things that I know for sure. And that's what I can offer to you. If you watched my entire video, thank you so much. And like I said, if you are still subscribed to me after years after the fact, thank you as well. I wish you all well and have a great Thanksgiving. Take care.